Okay, here comes vid number 3. You noticed a lot of plagiarism in your essays this week, and frankly it was somewhat unnerving because we expect at this level, the expectation at the college, not my expectation, but the college's expectation and practice is that students are introduced to the idea of plagiarism and taught some at least rudimentary ways to avoid it at lower levels than these classes in your English 70s and your 71s. And it's not that we don't come back to this subject and revisit it and reinforce it, but it is the expectation of the college in English 1A and 1B that you will have heard of plagiarism and know what it is and attempt to avoid it. Everybody makes a mistake once in a while, and that's no big deal. But so we're going to need to do a little work on that this week and some more formalized handouts and stuff like that. But I'm going to remind you with this video, when you take anyone else's words, if anyone writes words down and they are published, and you take them and put them in your essay word for word, copying and pasting them, you can do that. But you must do two things. You must cite your source, either in a formal citation at the end of the quotation inside of parentheses, which is the best, or at least by mentioning the author's name in your setup. In the beginning of the sentence before you start the quote, say, this guy says this. At least mentioning the name of the author, and putting quotation marks around the actual words that you have taken. Otherwise, it's plagiarism, which is a pretty big deal in the academic world. Okay? If you take someone else's ideas but put them in your own words, then that's called paraphrase. We've studied a little bit about that. We'll do some more with that. That's paraphrasing, but the ideas still belong to someone else. So you don't use the quotation marks because you're not taking the actual words, but you're taking the idea. And so again, you either cite the source in your setup, in the introduction to where you're citing, or better, cite it at the end in a formal MLA or APA parenthetical citation. Both of those things are fine to do in a limited way, so long as you do them correctly. The only thing that goes in your paper that isn't cited is stuff that you yourself own. Your ideas and your words are yours. You don't have to cite those, of course. Okay, which is why when we get a little bit further along with the research material, I'll be talking about when and where to cite and how much to cite and so forth. Okay, so to take anybody else's words, word for word, cut and paste them into your essay, you can do that. You put quotation marks around them, and you cite the source in one way or another. If you take someone else's idea, you still have to cite the source and say where the idea came from. Again, my little sermonette that goes with this is it's not about doing this so I won't be able to catch you and make a red mark on your paper and punish you for doing something wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about the cumulative creation of knowledge, of a body of knowledge. So you're using someone else's research, that's great. Use that research to build on, to create more knowledge and add to. It's exactly like the forum conversations. You can't just take from each other in the forum, you have to add to the conversation. That's how the human race gets ahead, is by starting conversations and adding to them until we gradually push ourselves a little further out of the mud. And we don't see that happening too much these days, in my opinion. So anyway, I don't know what to say about the rather large amount of plagiarism. You know, I don't know how that got to be because it wasn't supposed to be and it wasn't expected. So we're going to address that issue this week, and I wouldn't worry too much about it in your papers. However, the penalties for plagiarism are in the syllabus, and they're quite severe, and at some point I will have to apply them. Just so you know, I will at some point have to say this is plagiarism, you're screwed. I don't know that I'll say that In this case, I'm supposed to, but I don't know that I will. And I don't want you guys to stress too much about it. But if you're plagiarizing and you're doing it intentionally, you need to stop right now. And if you're not doing it intentionally, you need to figure out what you're doing and stop it. It's that simple. Okay? Not a big deal right now. Don't worry about it too much right now. But be sure by the end of the week that you're absolutely clear on what it is and what it isn't. Okay, bye. See you soon.